Question.
We have Mark behind the camera. And
Hi, it's Mark Brunswick, your producer of Control Yourself.
Okay, so what's the question?
So the question is, I immediately get the connection to jiu-jitsu as I practice it. So for somebody who, say, does Muay Thai or a striking sport, can you give some examples of what the crossover, the translation would be for this max effort training?
Brilliant. Okay, so this is my realm now. We're in the striking realm. So it's the same thing for a striker, and this brings up a whole another conversation here. Because so let's say when I'm doing my bag work, there's two different modes of bag work. I'm doing bag work to practice skill, and then I'm doing bag work so that I can stress the tissues that I use for throwing kicks and punches. Okay? That's max effort work. So when I go to do a bag session, sometimes my bag session is for physical training, and sometimes it's for skill. When it's for physical training, I'm gonna put in spinning back kicks at 90 to 100% intensity for a certain number, just like you would do in the gym for bench press. You'll say 5 by 5, whatever. For max efforts, you might say 3 reps for 4 sets at as much as you can do, or 90% of what you can do, or above 90% of what you can do. But when I'm doing spinning back kicks, when I hit a bag, that's 100% of what I do for that particular technique. So that is my max effort work. So now I can put max effort work with spinning back kick, and then I can couple that with dynamic effort work for muscular strength or generalizability. But to say that I'm going to do max effort work in a squat is to say that it's not going to transition over as well as it is when you're actually doing the kick. But you understand what I'm saying. It goes back to the idea of patterning and where are you trying to lay down the most amount of tissue. And that brought up another point, and I hope I'm not jumping around too much, but they often say, and I've heard this all my life, because as you know, I started with Taekwondo, I went to Kempo Karate, I went to Muay Thai, so I've done a lot of different striking arts, and I always hear that the Muay Thai kick is the strongest kick. Now, I'm not going to argue that it's in general, people who study with Muay Thai tend to have stronger kicks. And I don't want to argue the mechanics of it, because throwing a leg kick, just by the mechanics of it, it's going to be easier to put more weight behind. When you do it in the Muay Thai way, I understand the mechanics of it, that you're swinging a baseball bat versus the bending of the knee and the flicking out when you see in Taekwondo kicks or in karate kicks. It's just a different hinge. So forget the argument that the kick probably has more force behind it just because of the mechanics. What's more important and what people forget is that Muay Thai gyms train the kick at max effort repeatedly. So they use the bag as a training device. They go to the bag and they say, I'm doing 100 swing kicks. And they do that, let's say, 2 to 3 times a week. That's max effort work for them. If all you're doing is hitting targets, or when I was younger in Taekwondo, we'd have those kick pad targets. Again, that's a skill training session. And what you don't see as much with Taekwondo practitioners, with karate practitioners, Hapkido, or any of these other things, is you don't see them using the bag as max effort training. So the kick is stronger, sure, but the tissues that are along the pattern of the kick have been reinforced with max effort training for way, way longer with Muay Thai practitioners, which might be one of the reasons why we ultimately say that the Muay Thai kick is that much stronger. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah. So
okay.
This is a missing piece in the other striking.
So
in theory, you should be doing, if you're doing a front snap kick, you should be doing a max effort front snap kick.
At some point.
To make that better.
At some point. I mean, you can also break up, if that's the quality that you're looking to improve, then I should see that max effort. It has to be done appropriately. Some people don't even have the the stiffness or quality of tissue necessary to withstand heavy bag work, which is another reason I hate. You know what I hate is that cardio type kickboxing things. I don't hate it because it's not. It's fun. I get it. It's fun to do, but you're taking people who are not prepared. It's like, would you start with plyometrics? You would never take a beginner and say, we're going to do box jumps before you do one-legged squats, body weight squats. But if you take someone and you put them in a cardio kickboxing class, what you're saying is, I want you to plow into this bag as hard as you can. So not only are you going to explode, but you're going to decelerate at an extraordinarily high rate, which is going to put an incredible amount of force into your tissue. And most people's tissues don't have the force dissipation capacity to be able to withstand. And then they hurt themselves. And of course, we blame it on whatever we blame. We blame it.
Technique.
We blame it on technique, or you didn't drink enough water, or you haven't been squatting enough. As if squatting, as if squatting is going to reinforce the exact line of tissue that you need. I mean, now you're looking back at this and you might say, yeah, but if you're always working the same pattern for kicking, then you're going to patternize as well. And you're right. I get it. These things have to alter, right? There's GPP where there's certain qualities you have to keep, and then you have to fluctuate what you're doing, or you're always going to run into that problem. But to call my patternizing out when we can go into this gym and watch people doing, lat pull downs ad nauseum for 17 years. I mean, the patterning going on there is far worse, right? Those tissues, the tissues that you're deadlifting with, trust me, they've been trained enough. Like, if you think of the volume of training you've put on the specific tissues you use to deadlift with, it's probably fucking high, right? Like, a lot. How long have you been deadlifting? When you think about it in these terms, when you think about taking an athlete and finding new areas to stress, when you think about expanding range of motion, this is where people get confused into thinking that my system's only about mobility. It's not. It's about exploring the body to look for new lines of tissue with which to adapt so that it can ultimately produce or accept more load. So it's searching the body for the ability to add more, to adapt more, as opposed to waiting for these patterns to fail and waiting for these patterns to ultimately destroy the tissue.